to our deep dive into something I think we can all use a little more of, better mental health.
Mm.
We're exploring this great article today. It's called 10 Plus Coping Strategies to Improve Your Mental Health and Well-Being. And it's packed with really practical tips. Honestly, some of them surprised me.
It is interesting, isn't it? We all cope with stress in some way, but the article really makes you think about how not all coping mechanisms are the same. Some, might feel good in the moment, but they lead to more problems in the long run.
Like stress eating. I'm thinking like an entire bag of chips,
Yeah.
asking for a friend. But really, though, what's the difference between healthy coping and one that's actually harmful?
I think the key is whether it actually helps you manage the stress or if it just masks it. Negative coping mechanisms like substance abuse or spending too much time watching TV just offer temporary relief. They don't get to the root of the problem.
So it's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. I mean, it might cover it up, but it's not actually going to fix anything.
Exactly. Healthy coping strategies, though, they give you the tools you need to actually manage stress and build resilience.
So the article really highlights emotional awareness as like the first step. And it even suggests a journaling exercise. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, it's surprisingly simple. Um, Next time you just feel overwhelmed, just take a few minutes to write down what you're experiencing and what triggered it. You'd be surprised how much clarity you get from that.
Yeah, almost like untangling all those jumbled emotions just by writing them down.
That's a great way to put it. It helps you figure out patterns and understand what your triggers are. And that's essential for choosing effective coping strategies.
So let's talk about those strategies. The article dives into some physical ones, starting with exercise. But honestly, when I'm stressed, the last thing I want to do is go to the gym.
I know. But the interesting thing is that even just moderate exercise can have a huge impact on your mental well-being. There was a study at Harvard that found that just 30 minutes of brisk walking 3 times a week can significantly reduce the symptoms of anxiety and depression.
So it doesn't have to be like training for a marathon or anything. It's about just getting some movement in. The article mentions dancing and like quick at-home workouts.
Exactly. Just find something that you actually enjoy doing, and that fits into your lifestyle. The key is to get those endorphins going. They're like natural mood boosters. And, regular exercise, it helps you sleep better. It reduces those stress hormones. It really sets off a cascade of positive effects.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. Next up is deep breathing. Can simply changing how we breathe really make a difference?
More than you think. When we get stressed, our breathing tends to get all shallow and rapid, and that actually makes the anxiety worse.
Hmm.
Deep breathing techniques, like the 478 method that they talk about in the article, can help activate the parasympathetic nervous system,
Hmm.
and that triggers the relaxation response.
It's like hitting the chill out button for our bodies. And it's something you can do anywhere, anytime.
Exactly. And the article actually has links to more breathing techniques so you can find what works best for you.
Cool. Now, the article also mentions like the link between healthy eating and mental well-being. Is there really a connection?
There is, absolutely. There's actually a lot of research coming out about this gut-brain connection, and it suggests that what we eat can directly affect our mood, our stress levels, and even how our brains work.
Okay, so those late night ice cream binges might not be the best coping mechanism.
Probably not. While there's still a lot to learn about how the gut and brain are connected, the article emphasizes that a balanced diet is really important. Lots of fruits, vegetables, fiber, and lean protein. Even small changes can help, like adding a salad to your meal or swapping out sugary drinks for water.
Okay, so we've got moving our bodies, breathing deeply, and nourishing ourselves with good food. What about the times when we just really need a mindset shift?
That's where these psychological coping strategies come in. The article highlights mindfulness and meditation as really powerful tools for managing stress and creating inner peace.
But I've tried meditating before, and my mind just races with thoughts. Is that normal?
That's totally normal. It's a common misunderstanding that meditation is about clearing your mind. In reality, it's about noticing those thoughts without judgment and gently guiding your attention back to your breath.
So it's like training a muscle. The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
Exactly. And the article actually includes a simple 5-minute breathing exercise to help you get started. It's a great place to begin. Welcome back to our deep dive on coping strategies. We spent the last part, really exploring a range of approaches, and now it's time to get practical.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So let's take a closer look at some specific techniques that you can actually start using today.
Okay.
In the last part, we talked about mindfulness, and it seems like such a powerful tool, but I'm still not quite sure I get like how to actually practice it.
Yeah, mindfulness is often misunderstood. A lot of people think it's about clearing your mind or achieving some sort of Zen-like state,
Right.
but it's really just about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. Okay, but my mind is always racing with thoughts.
Yeah.
How do I, like, shut it all off?
You don't have to. The
Hmm.
key is to just notice those thoughts without getting carried away by them. Imagine you're sitting by a stream watching leaves float by. You observe them, you acknowledge that they're there, but you don't jump in and try to control them.
Okay, so it's about observing our thoughts and feelings as they come up, but without getting swept away by them.
Yeah, exactly. And you can actually apply this to any activity. The article gives the example of washing dishes.
Okay.
Instead of letting your mind race with to-do lists and worries, just focus on what you're feeling.
Yeah.
The warm water, the soapy bubbles, the sound of the water.
So you're saying, like, you can turn a normal chore into a mindfulness exercise.
Exactly. And the more you practice this mindful awareness in your everyday life, the more naturally you'll shift into that state of presence and calm.
That makes sense. So what about meditation? Is that the only way to, like, practice mindfulness?
Meditation's a great tool for strengthening your mindfulness, but it's definitely not the only way. If you are interested in exploring meditation, though, the article suggests starting with just like a simple 5-minute breathing exercise.
Okay.
Find a quiet spot, get comfortable, and just focus on the sensation of your breath. When your mind starts to wander, just gently guide it back to your breath.
Okay, it sounds pretty simple,
Yeah.
but I'm starting to see how powerful that could be. The article also has links to guided meditations and other resources. I'm definitely going to check those out.
Awesome. There are so many different types of meditation, so, you can find one that works for you.
Yeah.
So now let's switch gears a bit and talk about cognitive reframing.
Ooh, yeah. That's the one where we challenge our negative thoughts, right?
Yes, it is. And it can be a game changer. Cognitive reframing is based on the idea that our thoughts have a huge impact on our emotions and behaviors.
Hmm.
But a lot of times, our thoughts can be distorted or they're based on assumptions, not facts.
So it's like those funhouse mirrors that make you look like taller or wider than you actually are.
Yeah.
Our thoughts can kind of distort how we see reality.
That is such a great analogy. Cognitive reframing helps us see ourselves and our situations more accurately. So let's say you make a mistake at work and you start beating yourself up about it.
But, nah.
Instead of staying stuck in that negative loop, you can hit pause and ask yourself some questions like, what's the evidence for this thought? Is there another way to look at this? What would I tell a friend who was in this situation?
So it's like we're putting those negative thoughts on trial and demanding the evidence.
Exactly. By questioning those thoughts and considering other perspectives, you can start to loosen their hold on you and replace them with more balanced, empowering beliefs.
It's like becoming our own defense attorney, advocating for a more positive outlook.
Yeah.
That sounds great, but it also sounds like it takes practice.
Ah.
Any tips for getting started?
Yeah. I think a good way to start is by just noticing those negative thoughts as they pop up. Write them down, if that helps. Then use those questions we talked about to challenge them and reframe them in a more positive light.
Okay, it's like a mental workout, but in a good way.
Yes.
Speaking of mental workouts, what about these positive affirmations? Do those things actually work? I've always been kind of skeptical.
Affirmations can be really powerful, but they're not magic spells. It's not about just repeating positive phrases and expecting your life to change overnight.
So it's not like manifesting.
Not really. Affirmations work best when you combine them with action and a real belief in yourself. So the article suggests choosing affirmations that personally resonate with you and then writing them down somewhere you'll see them often, like on your bathroom mirror or in your planner, and then recite them out loud every day and try to really visualize yourself embodying those qualities.
So it's like aligning our thoughts and actions with what we want to achieve. So for example, if you're trying to build confidence, instead of just saying, I am confident, which might feel kind of fake if you're not really feeling it, you could say something like, I am learning to trust myself more and speak up in meetings.
That is a perfect example. You're combining a positive statement with a specific action.
Right. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm starting to get it. So we've got mindfulness, we've got cognitive reframing, we've got these positive affirmations. It feels like we're building this whole arsenal of mental resilience tools.
Mm-hmm.
But what about like the role of other people in all of this?
That's a great question. And it leads us right into social coping strategies, which are all about using the power of human connection to support our mental well-being.
Okay, I'm all about connection.
Yeah.
But how can that be a coping mechanism?
Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your mental health is to just reach out to someone you trust.
Hmm.
Whether it's a friend or family member or therapist, sharing what you're going through can really make a difference.
Hmm. I get that. But, it can be hard to admit when you need help.
Yeah.
There's a stigma around mental health.
Definitely. And what research is showing is that opening up to someone you trust can be super powerful in reframing those negative thoughts we talked about earlier.
Okay.
It's not weakness, it's a sign of strength and self-awareness.
So it's about challenging that voice in our heads that says we have to handle everything ourselves.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about getting support, it's about giving it too. Actively listening to and empathizing with others can be surprisingly therapeutic, both for the person you're supporting and for yourself.
It's like when you're feeling down about your own life, but then you hear what someone else is going through and it kind of puts things in perspective.
Exactly. And sometimes helping others can actually lift your own spirits and remind you of your own strength.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, another social strategy the article mentions is setting boundaries. And I got to say, this is something I personally struggle with.
Yeah, boundaries are essential for protecting your emotional energy and avoiding burnout. Mm,
It's about learning to say no to requests or demands that overwhelm you or compromise your well-being.
I know, but saying no is so hard, especially when you don't want to let people down or seem selfish.
I hear you. But remember, taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's self-respect and it's self-care. And when you set healthy boundaries, you're not only protecting yourself, but you're also setting a good example for other people.
Okay, so how do we actually start setting these boundaries? It feels so awkward.
Start small. You
Yeah.
don't have to go from being a people pleaser to a boundary-setting master overnight.
Right.
Maybe start by politely saying no to extra commitments at work when you're already feeling swamped, or suggesting a rain check on social events when you need some downtime.
Okay, those are good steps.
Yeah,
It's about being assertive, but, still respectful.
exactly. And the more you practice, the easier and more empowering it'll become.
All right, so we've covered mindfulness, cognitive reframing, positive affirmations, asking for support, and setting boundaries. Wow, that's a lot.
I know. So much good stuff, right?
Yes. So what else is in this mental health toolkit? Well, let's not forget about creativity. The article talks about a whole bunch of creative activities that can be incredibly therapeutic.
Yes. I'm excited to dive into this.
Mhm.
So in the last part, we briefly talked about drawing and painting and writing and music and all those things
Yeah.
as coping mechanisms.
It might sound surprising at first, but creative activities can give you a unique way to express and process your emotions, especially for people who have a hard time putting their feelings into words.
It's like giving our emotions a voice,
Yeah.
through art or music or writing.
Exactly. And you don't have to be like a professional artist or anything. The point is to find activities that you enjoy and that let you tap into that creative flow.
Right. Okay. So let's get specific. What about drawing and painting? I haven't picked up a paintbrush since I was a kid.
And you don't have to. Even just doodling or messing around with colors can be really therapeutic. The process itself can be very calming and meditative. It allows you to release those pent-up emotions and connect with your inner child.
Okay. So no pressure to be Picasso.
Snow.
Just have fun.
Exactly.
What about writing?
Writing can be incredibly powerful, for processing your emotions, gaining clarity, making sense of your experiences. Journaling is a really popular form of therapeutic writing. You can write whatever you want, no judgment.
I've heard that journaling is really helpful. Do you have any tips for getting started?
Actually, the article has a link to a list of journal prompts that are specifically about mental health and well-being.
Oh, wow.
They can help you go deeper into certain areas of your life or explore emotions you might not feel comfortable talking about with other people.
That's amazing. Okay, now what about music? I love music. I can't imagine my life without it.
Music is like a universal language. It brings up such strong emotions and memories. It can be so soothing and uplifting, or it can help you process really difficult emotions like sadness and anger.
Yeah.
The article suggests creating playlists for different moods. So you kind of have this musical toolbox to help you through different emotional situations.
I love that. So simple, but so smart. I make playlists for working out and relaxing, but I never thought about making playlists for different moods.
Yeah, it's like having a soundtrack for your life. And don't forget about making your own music too. Playing an instrument or singing along to your favorite songs can be incredibly therapeutic and stress relieving.
That's a good point. I used to play piano when I was younger. Maybe it's time to dig out those old sheet music books.
I think so. And what about reading? Do you like to get lost in a good book?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's my ultimate escape. It's like I can just step into another world and forget about all my problems.
Exactly. Reading is a fantastic form of escape and stress relief, and it stimulates your mind. Whether you're into fiction, nonfiction, poetry, graphic novels, there's a whole world of stories out there.
I love how reading can just open up your mind to new perspectives and ideas.
It really can. And let's not forget about crafting. Do you like working with your hands and creating things?
I've always admired people who are crafty, but I'm not very good at it myself.
You don't have to be an expert. Crafting can be really calming and meditative, especially activities that involve repetitive motions like knitting, crocheting, or even just coloring in those intricate adult coloring books.
Yeah, I can see how that could be very soothing. And plus, then you have something beautiful that you made yourself.
Exactly. And crafting can be a great way to connect with other people too. You can join groups, go to workshops, or even just share your creations with friends and family.
That's a great point. Okay, so we've covered a whole bunch of creative coping strategies. It's so cool that these things we usually think of as hobbies can actually be powerful tools for our mental health.
Absolutely. And the best part is you can adapt them to fit your own personality and lifestyle. Whether you prefer to do things solo or with others, there's a creative outlet out there for you.
I'm feeling so inspired. We've explored so many great strategies in this deep dive. I can't wait to start putting it all together and building my own personalized mental health toolkit.
That's a great idea. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in the final part of our deep dive. We'll discuss how to create a toolbox that's tailored to your own needs and challenges so you can handle all of life's ups and downs with more resilience and well-being.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We've talked about so many ways to cope better, everything from physical activities to how we think, the importance of connecting with others, and even how creative outlets can help.
Yeah, it's been a lot to take in. But now comes the really important part. You know, actually using all of this. How do we take everything we've learned and make it work in our everyday lives?
That's what I'm thinking. It's like having all these great ingredients, but no recipe. We need a plan, right? To turn all these coping strategies into something we can actually use to feel better.
That's where this idea of a coping toolbox comes in. It's recognizing that, one size doesn't fit all when it comes to mental health. What works for me might not work for you. What works for you today might not work tomorrow.
So it's like having a whole bunch of different tools and knowing which one to grab depending on what you're dealing with. Like if I'm nervous about a presentation, a breathing exercise might help. But I'm going through something really big in my life, I might need to talk to my friends or family or maybe even a therapist.
Exactly. It's all about being flexible and understanding what you need in that moment. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't just use a hammer for everything, right? You'd need different tools for different jobs. Same with mental well-being. We need a bunch of different tools to handle whatever life throws at us.
Okay, I get it. But how do we actually build this toolbox? Where do we start?
I think the first step is to look back at all the strategies we've talked about. Which ones really stood out to you? Which ones made you think, I want to try that? Those are probably the ones that are going to work best for you.
Okay, yeah, for me, I'm definitely interested in mindfulness, especially incorporating it into everyday stuff,
Yeah,
like washing dishes or going for a walk. And cognitive reframing that seems really powerful, like learning how to change those negative thought patterns.
I think those are great choices. Now think about how you can actually make them a part of your life. Could you try doing 5 minutes of mindful breathing every morning? Could you try to catch yourself and change one negative thought every day?
I could definitely try that. It's about starting small.
Yes, it really is. Being consistent is super important when you're trying to make a change, building new habits. It's like exercising. You don't see results after just one workout, do you? You have to keep at it to make a difference.
Makes sense. It's about making those coping strategies part of your lifestyle.
Exactly. And as you start trying out these tools, really pay attention to how you feel. What changes do you notice? Maybe your mood is better. You have more energy. You handle stress better. Be curious and be open to adjusting things if you need to.
It's like we're becoming scientists of our own minds.
That's a great way to think about it. And remember, your coping toolbox isn't set in stone. It can change and grow as you do. You might find new strategies you like, or maybe some tools that used to work don't work as well anymore. Be open to trying new things.
So it's like a journey, always learning more about yourself.
Yes. And on that journey, remember, it's always okay to ask for help. If you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out to someone you trust. A friend, family, therapist. There are people who care and want to help.
That's important to remember. We've learned so much today, but I think the biggest takeaway is that You don't have to go through this alone. There's help out there.
Absolutely. And even though we've talked about all these different tools and techniques, I think the most important thing is just being aware of your own mental health and wanting to take care of yourself.
And that's something we can all do, no matter what.
Mm,
It's pretty cool to realize we have more control than we think over how we feel.
I think so too. So, as we wrap up our deep dive, I have one last question for you to think about. Of all the things we've talked about today, which one are you most drawn to and why? What feels like it would really make a difference for you, and how can you start using it in your life today?
That's a good question. I'm definitely leaving here today feeling more hopeful and like I have a whole bunch of new ways to deal with stress and take care of myself.
That's great. And remember, taking care of your mental health is a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, celebrate the good moments, and never hesitate to reach out if you need help.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into coping strategies for better mental health. We hope you learned some useful tips and feel empowered to make positive changes. Remember, you have the strength to create a life that feels good and to take good care of yourself. Until next time.